As you're comfortable, just wanted to share a verse with you from the Tao Te Ching. Heaviness is the root of lightness. Stillness is the source of all movement. Thus, the sage travels all day without leaving her home. However gorgeous the sights, she stays at ease in herself. She stays poised and centered in the midst of all activities. Why should the sage be amused at the foolishness of the world? To flit about like a fool is to lose touch with your root. If you allow restlessness to distract you, you will lose the basis of your power. So we are here, united in our presence, force. We get lost in the mundane of the worldly things, objects. Realize this grand home, this divine, powerful being you are. Scan your physical body, see if you can just be 10% more relaxed in anywhere you can sort of propriocept with awareness. Notice the crown of your head. Where we mention more direct attention to within the body. We try to find more ease, space, softness. Noticing the whole head. inside your mouth. Your lips. Both nostrils. Both eyes. Relaxing deeper in the eye sockets. Both eyebrows. Your temples. Both ears. And your whole face together. Soft, relaxed, spacious. Draw a line from base of the skull. Feel your spine aligned. Take a moment. It may not feel perfectly centered. That's okay. Moments to really follow the path of every inhalation and exhalation. Different diaphragms of belly, ribs, chest, even the throat. full body scan. And then see if you could be another 10% more relaxed. Invite a sense of ease down through the shoulders, upper arms, elbows, down through both forearms and wrists. To both hands. And feel both palms of your hands. All the fingertips. We'll invite our hands to meet somewhere. And just start to slide the hands. Bring this sense of touch. You can rest your hands, or maybe to close the meditation, you might like to bring your hands to your face, touch into the face, hairline, anywhere that feels good to press around the ears or the jaw. And then whether your hands want to rest together on the heart, the belly. Honoring yourself, Hari Om Tat Sat. We'll move into some movement. Welcome, good morning. I hope you're well and had a good weekend. We're easing our way into February. Definitely more light, still wintry nonetheless. So let's move the legs a little out in space there, and just circle your ankles, feet in front of you. Move the legs, maybe just wiggle the legs. And just feel the weight then of your legs growing down into the ground. Let's bend the right leg in. We'll sit in an asymmetrical seat. I always love to lift the sitting bones and feel where are those points, or where are the openings. And then we can just start to move the arms. We'll start to lift arms up overhead. Maybe drawing hands through center. With that very saluting waves of our arms to sort of greet the day, greet your energy. Maybe arms in front, any sort of circular back behind you. Just begin to awaken the prana, the system, the chi. And your arms come up and overhead. You might like to side bend. And then feel free to bring one hand either side of one leg and go side bend with the legs here in this forward way. And we can move from side to side, of course, just lateral flexion and your pace. You're honoring this. Sometimes we find a really nice juicy spot, or we feel there's some sort of bend in one of the joints that feels good, or we explore bending the joints in different ways, be it the elbow, the wrist. We explore with leaning the torso forwards or back over the hips, and you'll definitely be feeling it down in the lower waist as well. The relationship with the shoulders, neck, head, how the head is positioned coming out of the shoulders. Oh. And then with our arms just out in front, we can keep the arms open and go a little side to side, revolving around, and we still have the added challenge of one leg extended. That will limit you definitely through certain parts. And then if you want to relax the arms, it would be the left hand onto your right knee and the right fingertips propelling you around to one side. And you can kind of feel your little lift out of that left hip. That's okay to allow the left hip to move in any way. Squeeze down into this deeper sort of torso revolving. And then we let that go. Swap out the legs. Or actually, before we swap the legs, you can sort of rub down the left leg. And seeing as we had that leg extended, it might be nice to even just fold over, let your spine round over the leg there. And let the head relax. Sometimes in my forward folds, I like to do little half moon circles with the neck, just gently easing into the sides of the neck. And then roll back up. Well done. We will swap it out now. Always a bit of relief. And again, we can play with the arms, maybe in a different way, sort of working the forearms, the wrists. These are sometimes like Egyptian arms if you have one hand up and one hand pointing away. But it's the big turn of the humerus bone in the shoulder socket. And you can be pressing down with the legs as well. There's always that press down to lift up. Or maybe some rotational movements. I often like fingertips on the shoulders, but it can also be done with the fingertips in the air, lifting the arms up off the ribs. This is where we get into the core a little more. Really good for the heart and lungs to kind of sweep off the rib cage. You can kind of feel that the body just loves this, these intercostal muscles opening. Oh, we can do some rope sort of side to side, the twisting. Notice if you lift your palms up or flip them down, the direction of your thumb can sometimes change a little sort of directionality across the chest. Or and then when if the hands want to come down, it'll be right hand to your left knee. You can lift up from your center. Feel free to adjust the legs any amount and rotate round. You might get a few nice releases through the spine. Allow your right hip to shift if you like. And play with the center, finding that line, even easing through your neck. Belly, chest back forward. And you can slide your hands up and down the right leg, sometimes touching into all the, so many facets of the leg muscles, that groups of muscles that work to support. One is lengthening, one is contracting, with all different movements, so giving them some heat there. And when you're ready, you can round your spine, fold over the leg. Get heavy where you need to, really get heavy where you want to. Move sensation into the body. Relax anywhere that feels maybe just tight. And roll it up. And bring it in. Let's come to a tabletop. Oh, find the wrists, find the knees. Take a moment to see if you can feel the insertion of the joints, the bones into the joints, the shoulders, the hips. And you can play with some cat-cows or circles. It can feel so fresh, new, every time, where your attention is going to. If you can shift even more weight into your index fingers, and even just the index finger is encouraging you to lengthen up the inner portion of your arms. And you'll feel that into the pec muscles. Sometimes even little presses down into the knees, lengthening your shins back behind you. And look over right shoulder and bring the right hip up toward the right shoulder. We're squeezing into one side body and the left side body is lengthening out. You can maybe press a little more into the left hand and draw the ribs, belly up and in. And then you get long as you come through center. Gazing over left shoulder, left hip hikes up into that direction. And you lift the ribs away from the floor. I might like to explore that once, twice more, either side. You inhale through center. See curving inner thighs, the front of the hips. Even feel down into the psoas, hip flexors. And then as we come through center, let's extend the right toes back. Just start to work into the back of the right leg. Really pick up the muscles on the front of the leg as well, around the knee joint, into the thigh. And feeling the little shift in the pelvis. And we take the weight into the left hand, left knee, lower leg might spin out to the side as you ground your right foot and open up into your side gate. And as you open, try to seal the index finger left hand. Notice the reach across the chest and go steady. Sometimes we wobble in and out here of these positions. And what you might like to do with the arm, reaching or circling. top hand, of course, your free arm. How that head is extending out of your spine. And the different positions of the head sometimes enable the breath to travel a little deeper, more freer. And you oxygenate the brain, the cells. You can always go for a little balance there with the right leg lifted if that feels good. Sometimes even core work here of right elbow, right knee coming into center. Feeling that squeeze through. And this can be tougher what's on the ground and also challenges the awareness to feel your way into squeezing into midline. Also that opening option there of reaching back and finding the foot with the right hand. It's a lot. It might be there, it might be not. Don't worry. Sometimes the muscles just seeking to find places, the wobbles, the shakes is really good. When we come out, come back down, and find child's pose, any variation. Sometimes holding the head in the hands or rocking a little in the child's poses. It's nice. And sometimes we just need to flop. We do that on the other side. When we come up, back to the 4-point base, extend the left toes back. Oh, such a nice way to get into the leg, the calf muscle, the heel, spreading of the toes. So many systems operating in one little movement. So how's the balance of the chest, ribs? And then you ground the left foot. The right lower leg might spin out. Then you press into right index fingers. You begin to open up your arm and go steady. You might feel that big opening into the inside there of the chest. There might be one little place you want to hold. Sometimes wrist circles we did when we're holding on the other side, releasing that wrist. Or extending, circling the top arm. Play with the balance of the left leg lifting. You can go for some core support as we squeeze elbow to knee. You know, sometimes there's offerings that you find that you really need to explore more in, or there's offerings that you don't want to explore in a particular way, and that's fine. You might like to catch the back foot. You definitely feel a lot more tension on this side and the back of the legs. So it depends, the sides differ. When we release out, we come back down, 4-point base, and take child's pose again. It's always good to relieve that right hand for a moment. And let the head relax. Fingers spread out wide. You can tuck the toes. Let's sit back on the heels with the toes tucked. You might move out the little toes just a tad. We won't stay here too long, but you might love or hate it. There's a time it was impossible, and now it just feels good, normal. Just see what that's like there with the toes, and
And you can also move your arms here in this pose, curling in and out, kind of cat-cow shape, rolling up through the spine. Easy. We can release the toes. You can always give them a tap out. And sit back on the heels. And this might not be for everyone, but you can lean your hands back a little bit. Maybe lift one knee and then the other. The ankle stretch. Some bone shapes really do not like it, or it feels impossible. And some shapes really like it, structures like it. You can rock back, lift both knees. And this really helps to prepare the feet for downward facing dog. Can be a bit of a Marmite. So we'll come to downward facing dog. And take your time to get there. You know, really feel the wrist creases, feel that strength, power of your hands. As you begin to lift your pelvis, knees soft, you're kind of moving the bowl of your pelvis, tilting it. Imagine the water now pouring out from the front of the pelvis, down to the floor as we lift the sitting bones higher. The head, the spine, head just sort of this extension of your spine, relaxing downwards. Oh. Bending the knees or swaying your hips slightly side to side. You might need your hands a little wider, or maybe the feet stepping back a little, because we'll roll into plank and back to down dog 2 times. The trick is always to really squeeze the feet and hands down, outer hips, outer shoulders together. So inhale as you lift your heels, curl your tailbone in, squeeze upper arms, outer hips, and roll to plank. And slightly look forwards. You press it all up and back again, pressing off the ground back to down dog. Your own time, your own way. So this little roll out to plank, feel that strong force. And then up and back again. And next time when we roll it out to plank, we'll lower the knees with control to the floor. Roll over the thighs all the way down to bone position. And we'll just set up for a few cobras here. Roll your shoulders back. Feel the thighs, the pubic bone. And you just start to lift. You can use hands or no hands. Finding that inhale, feeling what's happening there in the lower body, the low back. It's so good to squeeze the vertebra in the spine. Feel that tailbone moving back to the heels. Feel how by even moving your hands forward or back, you get different sensations. Oh. Move your forearms forward, elbows under the shoulders as we come into Sphinx. And we feel that little lift of the spine, kind of a little more. It's easier for the spine for sure. And always the option just to roll out through the legs, the pelvis. Even lift the feet here, sometimes clapping the inner feet together, waking up of the inner leg line. It's really helpful. It doesn't feel like much, but stimulating those deep frontal fascial lines. And then here in Sphinx, you can relax the feet back down, but the elbows are really rooting down. Feeling the fingers, sort of fingertips working. You can find some cat-cow movements here. As we move heart, opening the throat. And then feeling that press down, slow furling in. Begin to lift the chest, lift the ribs up into the back body. Maybe the hips lift up off the mat. And really feel that kind of snaking action all the way from the lowest portions of the spine to the crown of your head. As you open up and climb. We lower all the way down. Hands frame the shoulders, tucking the toes, either to a child's pose or your downward facing dog. Check in as you sort of make that momentum up and back. What would feel better for you? Stretching, releasing. And then walking the feet forwards to meet the hands. Steps. As your feet come under the hips, these can be soft, folding over your legs. Oh, hands can come to the back of the head or cup the elbows. Just keep the fingers relaxed to the floor. And enjoy these little small motions of pulses or sways. Trying to lift the lower belly up. And then we'll climb up to stand. You can bring the hands to the thighs or roll up with the hands free. Squeezing the feet down. As you come up, feel the shoulders elevating and relaxing back down. Feel some lightness in the head. Feel your hands sort of face forward or to the body as you come into Tadasana. And just the patience to feel everything catch up, settle in, tune in with breath. And you find your root chakra and balance it out. Feel it spreading front, back, and sides. Helping you to ground into your legs. As you sort of draw your thighs back, but the tailbone down at the same time. And then keep going up through the chakras. Just soften the shoulders, the arms a little bit more as we elongate through the head. And every day standing in your center, sitting in your center. Where all movement comes from stillness. Bend the knees, sink the weight back into the sitting bones. We come into Utkatasana, or fierce pose. Feet can be together or a little bit apart. And it's always good to play with different variations of where the feet are. So you can check in with the bones of your body. And then we start to concave through the front body, ribs drawing in, the navel coming back to the spine. A little lift of the pubic bone, spreading the sitting bones even more. You can squeeze your upper arm bones more to the ears, making sure the head's relaxed. And it's a big pose, so big for the body. Maybe we even look up. You know, I have the tendency to dip the head. And then exhale, relax over your legs, back to Uttanasana. Halfway lift, lengthen Ardha Uttanasana. And then plant your hands and step it back to a downward facing dog. One and the other as the hips go high. Little shake out of the head, no and less. You walk your feet forwards into a seat. You can cross the shins, sit down on the sitting bones, legs out in front. And we can find a little boat pose here. But sometimes what's even nice is just hands first behind the body, fingers away or forward. And having a sense of your heart lifting. You get into the front viscera of the body. And if you can feel your heart lifting, the chest opening, you might feel that down into the ribs, the belly, even that psoas muscle connecting ribs down to the pelvis. When we establish that front line and the back body strong, ears are moving toward the ceiling, then we might bring the weight into the sitting bones. You might slowly start to lift the feet. And then it's a slow movement of the hands forward as well. And we go, see where we get to, with the feet lifting. It's a big core challenge. And slowly, and the legs in the morning are so stiff. We lift the feet over a little higher. You go to where you need, sometimes one at a time. And find your fullest expression of both in this moment. We lower down onto the backs ever so slowly. Try to massage every vertebra as you go, squeezing the muscles that support and wrap around it. That gift of embodiment. Let's bring the right leg in. You can hug the shin. Love this pose every day. Extending left leg, nice and long. And just really feel that reach of the heels, the left leg, or where you can go with it. And the shoulders moving in, down. You can move this into a twist. So you might even, so the left leg can come in, the knees can stack, or the right leg can cross over your left. So see what one might feel better. Either parallel, and the knees will head over to the left as you sort of let your body twist open to the right. Give yourself a good kind of rig out there, squeeze. Lovely deep belly breaths. Whenever you're ready, move it all back into the center line. Folding the left knee in, we can hug the shin. Always good. And try to feel the balance in the pelvis. So your pubic bone still coming up toward the front of the ribs, back of the neck long, the chin folding in. You extend that right leg long. You make more space for the lower back. And there can be little rocks, there can be investigations of the movements of that extended leg to bring more length into the back. You make the way to the twist, so you can bring the knees in. They can stay parallel to one another, both legs. You always have the option to cross your left thigh over. I'm going for the parallel today. Knees over to the right. It's always sometimes helpful to shift your hips out of the way. Like we're having that floor thigh massage. You use the floor, you use your arms, use the breath to access the space, promoting the health in your spine. Where that's the aim, to keep the spine healthy. Center channel. Everything else is following with it. And setting yourself up for Shavasana, if there's anything you need to do, whether it's movement or clothing.
Coming back to this excerpt from the Tao Te Ching. Around 80 verses in the Tao Te Ching, and this is 26. Heaviness is the root of lightness. Stillness, the source of all movement. Thus, the sage travels all day without leaving her home. However gorgeous the sights, she stays at ease in herself. She stays poised and centered in the midst of all activities. Why should the sage be amused at the foolishness of the world? To let yourself flit about like a fool is to lose touch with your root. If you allow restlessness to distract you, you will lose the basis of your power. Simply a gentle reminder to my already wise friends. Who are so dedicated in mastering this power of center, root, wisdom. But that these verses were written somewhat 2,500 years ago. We rest into that, into the Tao, into presence, understanding that everything will be taken care of. It always is, it always does, and it always has been. Enjoy your day, most beautiful friends. Dearest Hannah, dearest Annabelle, dearest Indra. Om Tat Tvamasi. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Until we meet